She warned me her season was dangerous without a partner. The air smelled faintly metallic, and each breath felt heavy yet strangely invigorating. Aaron Cole, human xenobiologist and captain of the survey ship Endeavour, stepped carefully onto the alien soil. His boots sank slightly into the soft, spongy ground, leaving deep impressions that quickly disappeared as if the land itself swallowed them. "This is incredible," he muttered, scanning the horizon. Every surface seemed alive in ways that made his mind ache with curiosity. No wonder the reports called this planet unpredictable. A sudden rustle made him freeze. Aaron's hand went to his multi-tool, though he had little idea what he might need it for. From behind a cluster of glowing flora, a figure emerged. Lyra. She was unlike any alien Aaron had seen before. Tall, elegant, with a skin tone that shifted slightly like liquid metal, and eyes that seemed to reflect not just light but thought itself. She moved with grace, every step deliberate. "You are human," she said softly, her voice melodic but firm. "You should not be here yet. My season, it is dangerous without a partner." Aaron blinked. He had read about the local species, the Lyrians, in every report, every study sent ahead of the Endeavour. He knew they had cycles, periods of extreme environmental change, but he hadn't expected someone to meet him immediately with a warning that sounded more like a riddle. "Partner?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. "Do you mean another human?" Lyra shook her head. "Not another human, not another Lyrian. You survive alone only with cooperation. Alone, this season takes life." Aaron frowned, curiosity burning brighter than fear. "I don't understand. What do you mean by season? Is this some kind of natural event?" She paused, her shifting eyes fixed on him. "It is a test. The land changes. The air, the currents, the very time around us shifts. Alone, a creature cannot adapt quickly enough. With a partner, guidance and perception become survival." Aaron's mind raced. He had faced harsh planets before, dangerous storms and poisonous atmospheres. But this was different. It sounded alive, like the planet itself was a predator. "All right," he said finally. "I'm here to observe and learn. I don't mean to disrespect your warning, but I need to record data." Lyra's gaze softened slightly, but her voice remained serious. "Recording data will not save you. Only understanding, only attention, only partnership will." Aaron nodded slowly. He didn't fully grasp what she meant, but he had learned a long time ago that alien warnings were never to be ignored. He followed Lyra deeper into the forest-like terrain. Strange plants swayed as though moved by unseen winds, though the air remained still. Small creatures darted among the glowing ferns, leaving trails of sparkling dust. Aaron jotted notes rapidly. Everything was fascinating, and yet the unease in his chest grew. "Tell me more," he said, curiosity overcoming caution. "About the season." Lyra led him to a clearing where the ground seemed almost liquid, reflecting the purple sky like a mirror. "The season comes once every planetary rotation," she explained. "The environment shifts in ways you cannot predict. The storms are not wind or rain. The rivers are not water, the land itself moves, and the air changes perception." Aaron paused. "Perception?" "Yes," she said. "Time feels different. The ground may rise or fall before you see it. The plants react to thought. Sound carries more than you know. Alone, humans cannot survive my season. Alone, you risk being lost forever." Her warning chilled him, but Aaron's nature would not let fear control him. "Then I will study it, carefully, slowly, step by step. That is what humans do." Lyra tilted her head as if measuring his spirit. "Humans, you are brave or foolish, perhaps both. If you insist, then listen closely, watch closely, feel and do not act without thought. There is no rushing here." Aaron nodded. "I understand. But I need to know, how long does this season last?" Lyra's shifting eyes reflected the sky. "It is not measured in hours. It is measured in change. You will know when it begins and you will know when it ends. Until then, nothing you know will be certain." The warning made Aaron shiver despite the warmth of the alien sunlight. He was no stranger to danger, but this felt different. The planet itself seemed alive, sentient even, and Lyra, she was not merely an inhabitant, she was its guide, or perhaps its guardian. For the next hours, Aaron explored under her cautious guidance. He recorded data, but also observed patterns. Plants seemed to shift slightly when he looked away. The air carried whispers he could not understand. Every step required attention. He realized quickly that a misstep could have consequences beyond immediate injury. When night fell, though the violet sky turned darker rather than black, Aaron sat beside a small, reflective pool. Lyra was near, her form mirrored in the liquid surface. "Tell me, human," she said, voice quiet. "Why do you not fear?" Aaron shrugged. "Fear is easy. Curiosity is stronger. Humans survive because we notice what others overlook. We adapt, we try, we fail, we learn. Fear doesn't help you survive, understanding does." Lyra seemed to consider this, her shifting skin dimming slightly. "Perhaps humans are not entirely predictable. Perhaps you are not entirely foolish." A small smile tugged at Aaron's lips. He had heard of the Lyrians' respect for intelligence and creativity, but to hear it directly, it was an honor, and also a challenge. As they sat together, the ground trembled faintly. Aaron froze. Was that normal? Lyra's eyes reflected seriousness. "It begins." Aaron's stomach tightened. The season had started. He could feel the subtle shifts in the air, the land, the very way his body sensed gravity. This was no ordinary storm. The planet was testing him, and he was alone except for Lyra. "Then we must move," she said, standing gracefully. "Follow me closely, trust your senses, trust me, and trust your mind. Alone you will fail, together perhaps you can endure." Aaron nodded. His heart raced with excitement and apprehension. Humanity had faced harsh worlds before, but this was different. He felt the thrill of discovery, the challenge of survival, and the unmistakable sense that humans had something the aliens did not fully understand. Step by step, they moved deeper into the strange, shifting landscape. The glowing plants swayed unnaturally, the ground pulsed beneath their feet, and distant echoes seemed to follow them, repeating sounds before they happened. Aaron noted every detail, aware that this data would be invaluable. But more importantly, he realized something profound. Humans survive not just with strength, but with perception, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. Lyra glanced at him, a hint of approval in her shifting eyes. "You may survive," she said quietly, "but only if you remain aware, only if you remain partnered, only if you remain human." Aaron allowed himself a small smile. "Then I will remain human," he said, voice firm. "And I will survive your season." The purple night deepened, the planet shifted. And Aaron took his first true steps into the unknown, fully aware that nothing he had learned before would be enough, and that everything he had as a human might be the only thing that could save him. The first tremors were subtle, almost imperceptible. Aaron felt the slight shift beneath his feet and adjusted instinctively, gripping the side of a glowing tree-like plant for balance. The air had changed too, thicker somehow, and yet lighter at the same time, carrying faint whispers he could not place. He glanced at Lyra. Her form shimmered slightly, as if she were tuned to the movements of the land itself. "Are you ready?" she asked. Aaron nodded. "I have to be." They moved carefully, step by step. The ground pulsed faintly with each step they took, and he noticed that the reflective surfaces of pools and stones seemed to distort, showing glimpses of places they had not yet walked. Aaron's mind raced. This was no ordinary planet. The environment itself was alive, reacting to thought and movement. It was a puzzle, and every puzzle had a solution. "Humans adapt quickly," Lyra said, almost to herself. "They observe, they learn, they survive. Perhaps this season will not claim him." Aaron didn't respond, but he heard the admiration in her voice. Even the most advanced aliens underestimated humans, and he felt the truth of that every time he observed and calculated what others could not. The path they followed was treacherous. Giant ferns moved slowly, almost lazily, but their sway blocked certain areas. Small floating orbs of light darted unpredictably, illuminating shadows that seemed to move independently. Aaron made careful notes, documenting patterns as he observed them. He realized something vital. The season was not just dangerous, it was intelligent. It tested not strength or speed, but awareness, patience, and adaptation. They came to a wide expanse where the ground appeared to ripple like water. Aaron froze. "Is that safe?" he asked. Lyra's eyes reflected the faint light of the floating orbs. "Not always. The ground tests trust in perception. Step carefully and you may pass. Step without attention and you will sink, perhaps forever." Aaron swallowed hard. He focused on the faint shimmer of the surface, watching carefully how the ripples responded to his shadow, his weight, and the sway of the air. Then he placed one foot carefully, testing the ground. It held. Slowly, deliberately, he inched forward, one careful step at a time. Lyra followed, her presence a steady guide, though she allowed him to lead when he demonstrated insight. Halfway across, the ground quivered beneath him, threatening to collapse like liquid glass. Aaron's heart pounded. But he paused, studied the faint vibrations, and adjusted his weight, leaning slightly to the side. The surface stabilized. Lyra's eyes glimmered. "You see the patterns, you notice, you survive." A small, satisfied smile crossed Aaron's face. "That's what humans do." They reached the far side safely. Aaron made a mental note: observation, intuition, and patience. These were his tools. Not strength, not speed, but thought. As they moved deeper into the alien forest, the season intensified. The air seemed to hum with energy. Plants reacted almost violently to their movements. Some shrank and retracted when approached, while others leaned toward them as if curious. The floating orbs of light darted faster, following their path, illuminating dangers and highlighting the subtle shifts of the ground. Aaron realized that Lyra's warning about partnership was more than just a caution. He couldn't survive by himself, not because he lacked strength, but because the season required coordination, feedback, and shared perception. Alone, he might misread a ripple, misinterpret a whisper, or fall prey to a shift of the ground. With Lyra, they could combine senses, share awareness, and respond faster than the environment could challenge them. Hours passed. Aaron's notes became more detailed, more precise. He documented subtle patterns in the movement of plants, the glow of the orbs, and the shifting reflections in pools. Each observation gave them a slight advantage. He began predicting the pulses of the ground, noticing that certain ripples preceded minor tremors. He learned to sense changes in air pressure before they manifested as visible hazards. "Your mind is sharp," Lyra said during a brief pause. "Few species can perceive the subtlety of these shifts. Humans, you are unpredictable, clever, persistent. Perhaps too clever for your own safety." Aaron chuckled softly. "Too clever can be a good thing." Lyra smiled faintly, her metallic skin catching the light. "Perhaps, we will see." The first real test came when the forest opened into a valley filled with towering crystalline formations. They glimmered in shades of blue and green, reflecting every movement. Aaron noticed immediately that the formations were not stable. They vibrated faintly, resonating with the energy of the planet. One misstep, one wrong foot placement, and the structures could topple or shift, blocking paths or creating impassable walls. Aaron crouched and observed the vibrations. Slowly, he began to map a path with careful steps, using subtle markers in the light and shadows. Lyra followed closely, guiding when necessary but allowing him to lead when he demonstrated awareness. Halfway through the valley, a sudden pulse shook the ground. Crystals trembled and some cracked, sending shards bouncing toward them. Aaron's heart raced, but he reacted instinctively. He noticed the timing, the pulse came in a pattern. With each tremor, he shifted his weight, adjusted his steps, and moved to a safe spot just before the next pulse. Lyra's eyes followed him with admiration. "You predict, you adapt, you endure," she said. "This is why humans survive where others cannot." Aaron realized that the danger of the season was not about immediate threat. It was about adaptability. Aliens with rigid instincts might fail because they could not adjust quickly. Humans, with curiosity, intuition, and the ability to improvise, had an advantage. Even in this alien world, they could survive by thinking differently. Night fell again, though the purple sky never became fully dark. Aaron and Lyra found a small, sheltered area between two massive crystals. The air was cooler here, and the vibrations of the ground were faint. Aaron set up a temporary observation station, using tools he had carried from the ship. He measured vibrations, light fluctuations, and air density, comparing them to his notes from earlier. Every data point was critical. Every observation could be the difference between safety and failure. Lyra watched silently. "Humans, your minds are remarkable. You do not follow instinct blindly. You adapt even under pressure. Perhaps this season will not claim you." Aaron nodded. "I have to learn. I have to understand. That's what humans do." They ate small rations, their bodies replenishing energy while remaining alert. The night was filled with faint hums and vibrations that seemed almost alive. Every sound, every subtle shift in light or air demanded attention. Aaron found himself tuning in more deeply than he ever had before. His human advantage, observation, patience, creativity, was proving essential. By the third day, the season showed no signs of slowing. The planet itself seemed to test their endurance. Small fissures opened in the ground, sending faint tremors through the valley. Floating orbs darted unpredictably, forming temporary barriers or illuminating hazards. Plants moved in strange patterns, shifting as if alive, almost sentient. Aaron noticed patterns he had not seen before. The fissures pulsed rhythmically. The orbs followed a path that could be predicted with careful observation, and the plants seemed to respond to their focus, shrinking or swaying when attention was directed. He realized something remarkable. The planet could be read, understood, and anticipated if one observed carefully and shared awareness. Alone, no single creature could notice all the cues. Alone, missteps would be fatal. Together with Lyra's guidance and his perception, survival was possible. "You see," Lyra said quietly, "the season is not merely a hazard, it is a test. Alone you might fail, together perhaps you will endure." Aaron smiled, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "Humans endure. We observe, we adapt, and we survive. That is how we face the unknown." Lyra's shifting eyes reflected faint approval. "Perhaps humans are unlike other species. Perhaps you are worthy." As they settled in for the night, Aaron felt a sense of calm despite the constant threat. The season had begun in earnest, but he was learning, adapting, and thriving in ways that the Lyrians and the planet itself might not have anticipated. For the first time, he realized that the real danger of the season was not its physical challenges. It was the failure to think, to observe, to adapt, and to trust one's partner. With Lyra, he had all the tools he needed. Alone, he might have failed. But together, he understood, humans had a chance to survive and even to master the season's tests. The alien sky glimmered faintly as they rested. Aaron knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and new dangers. But he also knew that he was human, curious, clever, and capable of facing the unknown in ways no one had anticipated. And in this dangerous, shifting world, that might be enough. The alien sky glimmered faintly as Aaron and Lyra rested. The night was long, filled with the hum of shifting ground and soft, otherworldly whispers. Every instinct, every observation, every subtle vibration demanded attention, and Aaron was sharper than ever. He had learned the rhythm of the planet, the pulse of its life, and most importantly, how to combine his perception with Lyra's guidance. By dawn, the violet light stretched across the jagged cliffs, revealing a landscape both beautiful and treacherous. Pools shimmered like mirrors, plants leaned and swayed unpredictably, and the floating orbs darted faster than ever. The full force of the season had arrived. Lyra looked toward Aaron, her form shimmering with intensity. "The peak approaches," she said softly. "The tests you face now will be the hardest. Do you trust yourself and me?" Aaron nodded. "I trust both. That's all humans have sometimes, their mind and the people they work with. We survive by noticing what others miss." Lyra's eyes reflected faint approval. "Then we begin." They moved together, navigating a valley filled with towering crystalline formations that vibrated with a deep resonance. Aaron remembered the pulse patterns from the previous day, predicting the trembling crystals' movements with growing confidence. Each step was deliberate, each decision measured. He began to anticipate not only the physical shifts, but also the subtle changes in light and sound, signals that the planet gave to those who listened carefully. A sudden, powerful pulse rocked the valley. Crystals quivered violently, some toppling toward them. Aaron's heart raced, but his human advantage, observation and improvisation, allowed him to act quickly. He used a reflective crystal to redirect light onto a glowing plant, which shifted in response, blocking the fall of a jagged shard. Lyra followed instinctively, moving where the human mind could not predict alone. "You think differently," she said quietly. "You notice what is invisible, you adapt, you survive." Aaron's chest tightened with a mix of relief and pride. Humanity had survived countless challenges across space, but the thrill of this planet was unique. It tested not strength or speed, but intelligence, patience, and creativity, and humans excelled at all three. As they continued, the terrain shifted more dramatically. Pools began to rise and fall like breathing lungs, waves of energy pulsing across the surface. The ground underfoot quivered and reshaped, creating paths one moment and gaping holes the next. Plants reached out like tendrils, moving in ways that suggested awareness. Floating orbs formed clusters that blocked paths or illuminated hazards. Aaron noticed a pattern, a rhythm that repeated every few minutes. He shared his observation with Lyra. "The pulses follow a cycle," he said. "It's subtle, but if we move in sync with it, we can avoid the worst of the danger." Lyra tilted her head. "Few humans notice such patterns. Your mind is remarkable." Together, they moved in rhythm with the season. Aaron led when observation demanded action. Lyra guided when instinct and awareness were necessary. They communicated silently, gestures and glances replacing words. The partnership was seamless, a combination of human ingenuity and Lyrian perception. Hours passed. The environment became more extreme. Ground pulses were stronger, floating orbs darted unpredictably, and plant tendrils swayed violently, testing their reflexes. Aaron's mind raced, recording every detail, predicting every shift. Lyra's guidance remained steady, her awareness extending the range of perception beyond what a human mind could achieve alone. They reached a massive chasm, the culmination of the season's trials. The valley below was filled with shifting crystals, pulsing pools, and floating light orbs forming barriers. The only path across was a series of narrow, vibrating ledges. A single misstep could send them tumbling into a maze of deadly, shifting terrain. Aaron studied the ledges carefully. "It's about timing," he said. "We move only when the pulse allows. Watch the vibrations, follow the rhythm, and we can cross safely." Lyra nodded. "Then we proceed together. Trust your instincts and mine." Step by step, they crossed the ledges. The ground vibrated violently beneath them, but Aaron's careful observation and Lyra's guidance allowed them to avoid the worst hazards. When a sudden pulse threatened to destabilize the ledge, Aaron adjusted his weight, leaned into the movement, and guided Lyra with a subtle gesture. They moved as one, a perfect combination of human intuition and alien awareness. At the far side of the chasm, Aaron paused to catch his breath. The season's intensity had tested him like nothing before. Yet, in every moment, he had survived because of observation, adaptability, and partnership. Alone, he would not have made it. Together, they had overcome the challenge. Lyra's eyes shimmered with admiration. You have endured and learned. Humans, you are not only clever, you are resilient, persistent, and adaptable. Perhaps, this season does not claim you because you are unlike others. Aaron smiled faintly. Humans endure, we face what others avoid. We notice, we adapt, we survive. That is what makes us different. The planet pulsed one final time, the season reaching its peak. Crystals trembled, pools shifted, and the floating orbs darted in a frenzy. Aaron noticed the subtle signals, vibrations, reflections, and whispers that indicated the final test. He shared his observations with Lyra. Now, he said quietly, we move together one step at a time. The final steps were the hardest. Ledges wobbled dangerously, the ground below shifted like living liquid, and the air itself seemed to resist their movements. But Aaron's focus was unshakable. He adjusted his steps in precise timing with the pulses, predicting every tremor, every vibration. Lyra followed, guided by his perception, her own instincts adding another layer of awareness. When they reached solid ground on the other side, Aaron's heart pounded with exhilaration. The full force of the season had tested them, and they had prevailed. Lyra looked at him, her metallic skin reflecting the faint light of the planet. You have survived, she said softly, not because of strength, not because of speed, but because you notice what others miss. You adapt, you think, you endure. That is why humans are exceptional. Aaron felt a surge of pride. It wasn't just me, it was us. Observation, adaptation, and working together, that's what kept us alive. Lyra nodded. Yes, you understand the essence of the season. You have proved humans can survive what others cannot, perhaps even thrive. The sky shifted as the season's intensity slowly waned. The trembling ground stabilized, pools returned to calm surfaces, and the floating orbs settled. The alien landscape, once chaotic and unpredictable, now seemed peaceful, almost serene. Aaron and Lyra stood together, exhausted but victorious. You see, Lyra said, the season tests not only survival but understanding. Alone, a being may fail, but with awareness, perception, and partnership, endurance is possible. Humans, you are remarkable. Perhaps too remarkable for some to predict. Aaron laughed softly, the sound echoing across the valley. That's humans. We endure because we think differently. We adapt because we notice what others miss. We survive because we work together, even with unexpected allies. Lyra smiled faintly. Yes, you have shown what humans can do. Others will learn to respect you and fear your unpredictability. Aaron looked at the alien world around him. Every plant, every crystal, every floating orb had been a test, and humanity had passed. Not through strength, not through weapons, not through aggression, but through intelligence, observation, and the courage to face the unknown. As they made their way back to the ship, Aaron reflected on the lessons of the season. The planet had challenged him in ways no human world could, forcing him to rely on every ounce of perception, every creative solution, and every ounce of collaboration. He realized that the Lyrians and perhaps other species in the universe underestimated humans because they measured life in predictable ways: strength, speed, instinct. Humans measured life differently: curiosity, creativity, and adaptability. And that difference was what made them extraordinary. Lyra stopped near a small, reflective pool, turning to face him. Remember this, she said. Seasons will come, worlds will shift, and challenges will rise. But humans, you endure not because the universe gives you mercy, but because you notice, adapt, and persist. That is your true strength. Aaron nodded. I will remember, and I will continue to learn. That's what humans do. As the Endeavor's shuttle approached, ready to take him back to the main base, Aaron glanced one last time at the alien planet. He had survived the season, and more than that, he had proven the essence of human capability: intelligence, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. Lyra's parting words echoed in his mind. "You survived my season, but you did more than that. You showed the universe what humans truly are." For Aaron, that was more important than any data, any observation, or any record he could take back. Humans had survived brilliantly, creatively, and wisely. And he knew deep down that humanity's strength was not in force or domination, but in perception, cooperation, and the relentless courage to face the unknown. The shuttle lifted off. Aaron looked out at the planet one last time, shimmering in the fading light of the violet sky. He knew the universe was full of challenges, far greater than any one human could face alone. But he also knew that humanity's mind, its creativity, and its courage would endure. And in the vastness of space, that might be the most powerful force of all.